control every aspect of life. You think, I'm free. I can decide which brand of soap to buy. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Whichever brand of soap, most of the brands of soap are all created by the same companies anyway. Duh. Read the label. And if not, even if not, the chemicals that they use to make the soap are all created by the same companies, who are owned by the same people. So basically, you have agreed to become a slave in a very, very large slave farm. The means of making your own livelihood, of getting your own water, of growing your own food, have been taken away from you and made the property of some impersonal corporation. And then you have to work for another corporation to get the cash to pay for all these goods and services. You have effectively become a slave. Now, if you want to become free, the only way out is to create your own means of getting all of those necessities. And that's going to have to happen because the corporations, the whole corporate world is now falling apart. It's based on a false premise. The premise of debt and interest. Capitalism means interest. It means we lend out money and we get paid back more than the money we lend. Well, where does that additional value come from? If I lend $100, let's say in my whole town there's only $1,000, right? And I'm the bank, so I have this $1,000, and I lend it to you at 10% interest. That means when you pay it back, you have to pay me $1,100. Well, where's the other $100 going to come from? If we only have $1,000 in the whole town, where's the other $100 going to come from? You have to go out and rob somebody for it. You have to go out and cheat somebody for it. You have to go and steal it from the next town. Are you starting to get the picture? As soon as you create this nonsense idea of profit and capitalism and corporations and limited liability, you have effectively unleashed a whole wave of crime and exploitation on society. And this is what's happening. This is what's happening all over the world. And this is why it's failing. How long can you go by ripping off other people? Sooner or later, the karma is going to come back and bite you, and this is exactly what's happening. So the whole thing is falling apart. States are going bankrupt. Whole countries are going bankrupt. Pakistan is something like 2 weeks from going bankrupt, you know. Well, what do you think they're going to do? Start a war, of course. And that's the next stage. So, if you really want to survive, if you really want to live long enough to implement this esoteric teaching in your life, you're going to have to create your own source of food, water, and other necessities. You know? I'm sorry to be the bringer of bad news. But this is the truth. And if you don't do it, well, basically you're finished. There's going to be extensive violence, rioting, demonstrations. Well, it's already starting, you know, all over the world. The leaders are all cheating. There's no such thing as a fair election anymore. This world has become simply the cheaters and the cheated. And guess what? It was always that way. Just that now it's become so obvious nobody can ignore it anymore. All the things the Vaishnavas have been saying for thousands of years are all true. It's all true. But simply they have been able to put up an effective smokescreen and hide behind propaganda. But they can't hide behind the propaganda anymore. The people are becoming now, they're able to see through it. There's enough people who are telling the truth that it's starting to get around. Before there was a solid wall of propaganda. Now the truth is actually coming out. So of course they're going to try to stop that too, by clamping down on the internet. but it's too late. And especially once the crops fail this summer because of environmental problems, then everybody's going to be well aware that this has gone way too far. And some people who are in denial are still going to be crying, fix the system, put it back the way it was. But it can't. You can't put it back the way it was. It's not going to work. The most they can do is soften the blow. By all these bailouts and all this manipulation of finances and propaganda and so on. Actually, the thing is already finished. It's already failing. It's already, the actual death blow has been struck. But they the bankers and financiers and governments and all these people are working together feverishly to keep it all a secret and make it look like everything's okay. But sooner or later, the truth is going to come out. Then the people in general are going to realize, oh, we've been cheated again. And then there's going to be a big shift in attitude. And that's when all this preparation will pay off. You see? It's just a matter of time. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years. That's not really very much time. Start getting organized now. Get ready for that time. And then when that time comes, you'll be able to say to people, okay, here's what you need to do. You see? Actually, you should start now, because now there's still some availability of resources that you can stockpile. Start stockpiling food. Start stockpiling seeds. Get some water storage facilities. I'm not kidding. The water is going to get worse and worse. Especially, you're going to need some means of communication. Maybe a shortwave radio, ham radio, something like that. But most of all, you have to know how to organize people. The way you organize people is that, first of all, they have to accept certain values. There has to be a common purpose, a common aim. They all have to be thinking along the same lines. If you try to take just a bunch of random people and create a community, it's going to fail. Everybody's going to be going in different directions and thinking different ways, and you won't be able to establish a consensus. So the esoteric teaching has to be the gate. If they accept the teaching, then they can join the community. If they don't accept the teaching, sorry, find some other community. Because guess who is going to make it through all this chaos? Only the people who have protection from God. It's going to be so bad. It's going to be everywhere. Just try to understand. In the next 10 years or 20 years, probably 90% of the population of this planet is going to be finished. Probably 90%. So are you going to be part of the 90% that gets finished, or are you going to be the 10% that makes it through? Out of all the people in your life, probably most of them are not going to make it. And the ones that do are going to be irrevocably changed. Because that's the only way you're going to make it through, is by changing, growing, learning, adapting, improvising, figuring out, solving the problems, taking initiative, being creative, being insightful. And all these qualities are nurtured by the process of the esoteric teaching. A person who is chanting the holy name, because they know who they are and what they are, they have spiritual realization. They're in a much better position to actually see the real solution to the problems of life. They're in a much better position because they're not fooling themselves. They know who they really are. They're not pretending to be a piece of meat. Try to understand. Truth begins with the notion of who am I? What am I? See, this is why the scientists got led astray. They had no conception of consciousness, no idea of a spirit soul, no theory of consciousness that predicted what the results of any change in consciousness were going to be. So now they have become completely led astray into an area where there is no morality, no right or wrong, no good or bad. The same discovery